All right, good morning. I just wanted to make a quick video that has to do with the Raven, why we chose the Raven, or why I chose the Raven, why we're doing a literary analysis essay over the Raven. So I'm going to go to our, here we are. I'm going to view as a student and kind of talk about this just a little bit. Where am I at? View as a student and share my screen. Share here, homepage. There we go. All right, so let's go to content. So a literary analysis of the Raven. So here, by the way, here's the citation. You really only need one citation. And so do we do a discussion over the Raven, social dilemma? We got all that. All right. So we're going from this social dilemma discussion, which I got your points up, and I'm going to kind of bring these in also, right? So we have social dilemma, and then we have this discussion board over the Raven. So I'm trying to think of how I want to word this. I use Bloom's taxonomy in my teaching, right? Bloom's taxonomy is just, I've got the poster right here. I should bring it in front of us, but I don't want to take the staples out. But Bloom's taxonomy is a study on how we learn. And the bottom of Bloom's taxonomy is that we remember and understand things. So I am trying to get us to get just an idea over the Raven that we can carry over into our essay. So what I was thinking about with the Raven, I'm going to go ahead and go back to content. With what I was thinking about with the Raven is that we have this, here's the Raven movie. We have this man who, I don't ever know when it shares screen, if it moves with me. So make sure it's going to switch shadow screen. All right, kind of skip this ad. So we have this man, right? And he is remembering. There we go, perfect spot. He is remembering his lost wife, Lenore. A lot of people say, well, maybe she was this, but I think he just lost his wife. That's what I think. He lost his wife, and he is sitting alone in the dark, and this raven flies in, and the raven like symbolizes where our mind can go when we're sitting by ourselves reading through books or Facebook. And so that's kind of what I want to carry over from the Raven. I want us to do some critical application for this this essay. Again, whenever we go into our advertisement argument, we're going to ask ourselves, how is the Raven like social dilemma? Where do we find similarities between the Raven and social dilemma? Because whenever I read the Raven, one is because it's Halloween and it's fun and it's good to do a literary analysis to analyze a work of literature. But where I see this similarity between the Raven and the social dilemma, social media and whatnot is where our mind can go when we stay in our sorrow. Depression rates are through the roof, suicidal rates are through the roof, they're the worst than they ever been. And part of that is sitting thinking about what could have been, what others have, right? So we're sitting in our purple chairs like this, books of our sorrows. So is this Raven a lot like books of our own sorrows? Can the Raven symbolize where our minds go when we're mindlessly scrolling, right? So how is the Raven like social media? This is what we're going to get into later on. This is just why we're doing it. So we're asking ourselves, well, how do you write a literary analysis essay of the Raven? So let me go back to, I really want to watch that again. Anyway, should have watched it on Halloween. I didn't. So let's go back to our content. Share the page again. Share screen. All right, so let's go back to this. So we're doing a literary analysis, and a literary analysis is nothing more than just analyzing the literature. What did I see? What did I know? Now, there are specific requirements of a literary analysis essay, and that is that we don't say I, me, and my. It's third person only, so we don't go into I, me, and my. We only talk about the work of literature, so we only talk about Lenore and the narrator and the sorrowful man. What does the raven? So it's an analysis of the literature only. So you're like, okay, if you're thinking, well, how do I find what we analyze? So just go back to your discussion board. So let's see what everybody said. So discussion over the raven. All these questions are supposed to carry over into your essay. That's why I only did a couple weeks of it. Like, why was it important? What was the importance of the title? Do we want to talk about the conflicts in our essay? Do we want to talk about the characters? Do we want to talk about some themes and symbols, some expectations, um, the purpose, the setting, right? What do we want to talk about? I'll definitely put the setting. How essential could the poem have been situated in another place or time? Do you get enough sense of where and when the poem takes place, right? So the setting is what I'm really going to hone in on when we go into um, applying it to the social dilemma, right? Because the setting can change. I can have the Raven setting in my office here if I wanted to open up my book and fall into my sorrows, right? And that's just kind of the idea of why we are looking at the Raven one, and because the Raven is just fun. The Raven is a fun essay to do. So if you're wondering how do I write this, just simply look at what we talked about here. All right, and you can also go to, if you go to this prompt, assignment prompts, and you go to this Raven prompt, literary analysis prompt, you'll also find a sheet that should help us. Hopefully it's there. Nope, it's not there. It's okay. Help you analyze, help you organize this. So I'll upload that here in just a moment. But to organize this, our 5-paragraph essay is what we're shooting for. We're shooting for a 5-paragraph essay where we are simply analyzing the Raven. And those analyses can just be found on our discussion. That's the whole point of the discussion. All right. Now, I get kind of mean with what I call transfer learning. So let's say that you turn in an analysis of the Raven and you don't talk about, like, you just analyze what I thought of the Raven, or you just do a full summary of the Raven, right? We want to analyze ideas. We want to have points and support for our essays. So if you don't talk about conflict or character or themes and symbols or expectations, or say you don't talk about any of this, you just have just a summary of the Raven, which a lot of students will do that. They just have a summary of their whole thing is a summary. Then you actually only get half the points for this discussion board. Because if the discussion doesn't carry over into the essay, it's called transfer learning. If your learning doesn't transfer into your essay, then what was the point of doing the discussion board, right? So let's make sure that we look through what other students said. Let that help you. Now, you don't want to just steal word for word or their ideas, but let your fellow classmates help you create that literary analysis essay by talking about these ideas in your body paragraphs. All right, so don't do a full summary, only use third person, and make sure you make some points and support those points in your analysis. And then whenever we get to the argumentative essay, we are going to carry this over into the social dilemma. Now, we're going to use the social dilemma again in our last essay. All right, so I hope that helped you a little bit. If you're wondering how do I do a literary analysis, you just take these points here and you form them into some of these. You don't do every single one of them, but you form them into an essay, right, where you're analyzing. And you can talk about what you thought about the Raven with third person, saying the narrator discusses. Poe wanted us to believe. Poe wanted us to see. Edgar Allan Poe wanted us to see that. The narrator discusses that. Ideas like that. All right. So let me know if you need any help. But have fun just analyzing the Raven. And you're more than welcome to bring in the movie, by the way, as long as you cite it on YouTube. You can bring in how the images help the poem, maybe. You're more than welcome to bring in the movie. or even either one of those YouTube tutorials, if it helped you look at, the looked at ideas, you're more than welcome to bring those into your essay also. So you can have more than one source. You can have those YouTube sources also.